Alright, in this video I will be reviewing for your quiz in Unit 5, quiz number 3. So we're going to start with numbers 1 through 6, where we want to, again, you want to look at the keywords for the directions. In this case we're going to simplify, and it does tell us to show all of our steps. So in number 1, we could very easily put all of this into our calculator the way it looks, but that would be very difficult to do. Because that would require parentheses and fractions. So it is actually much easier to go ahead and simplify this using our laws of exponents before we move on to give us a single answer. So if you notice, these are 2 powers to another power. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply each of those powers by 6. So that becomes 3 times 1/3 to the 6th power, which is 2. And then you multiply that by 1/2 times 6 is 3. So as you can see, this very easily becomes 3 squared times 3 cubed. Then using my law of exponents of 2 things with the same base and different powers, I can say that this is 3 to the 2 plus 3, and 2 plus 3 is 5, which is 3 to the 5th. Now 3 to the 5th is a lot easier to put into your calculator, so when you put that in, you're then going to get 243. For number 2, since all of these things are the 5th root of all of these numbers are being taken, I can just go ahead and write this as the 5th root of 72 times 4 over 9. Now, simplifying 72 times 4 divided by 9 is actually very easy to do. You don't have to use any 5th roots or anything. So then you're really just going to be taking the 5th root of 32. And the 5th root of 32 is 2. For number 3, you're going to take and raise each of these powers to the negative 1/5 power. So that will be 5 to the negative 1 over 6 to the negative 1. And those negative powers just means I flip top to bottom. So the 5 to the negative 1 becomes 5 to the first on the bottom, and the 6 to the negative 1 becomes 6 on the top. So 6/5 is your answer. For number 4, this one's a little bit tricky because you can't really do anything with it unless you first write the powers. So you should do 28 to the power of 1/5 over 28 to the power of 1/6. Now you can see that for this one you have the same base in for each of the exponents. So now you can just rewrite this as 28, and when you're dividing you want to subtract exponents. So that's going to be 1/5 minus 1/6. And 1/5 minus 1/6 is going to come out with a common denominator of 28. Your common denominator is 30. So this one becomes 6 over 30, and this one becomes 5 over 30. You could plug that in and just get a fraction of 1/30. So 28 to the 1/30 power. You could also write that as the 30th root of 28. So again, really, you can't really do anything with this until you put it into exponential form and subtract the exponents and then rewrite it using your radical symbol. You could also get a decimal notation, but really leaving it as either of those will be sufficient. For number 5, if you notice, all of these are being raised to the 1/3 power, so I can rewrite this as 36 times 12 over 2, and all of those are being raised to the 1/3 power. Now it's much easier to simplify 36 times 12 divided by 2. That's 216 raised to the 1/3 power, so that is basically the cube root of 216, which is 6. Number 6, you want to add the exponents since you have the same base, so that's actually x to the 1/2 plus 1/5, and 1/2 plus 1/5 is 7/10. Again, you could put the 1/2 plus 1/5 in your calculator to get 7/10. Alright, moving on. For number 7, you want to first raise everything to the 1/4 power. So that'll be x to the 12th, y to the negative 8, z to the 23rd, all of that raised to the 1/4 power. So now you know you're going to multiply the exponents because it's powers to power. So that will be x to the 3rd because 12 times 1/4 is 3. Y to the negative 2 because negative 8 times 1/4 is negative 2. And z to the 23 over 4. Okay, you could leave it like that. The 23 over 4, I'm sorry, you could not leave it like that because you do have a negative exponent. So you would need to rewrite this as x cubed. You could rewrite the z to the 23rd over 4 as the fourth root of z to the 23rd. So you could do fourth root of z to the 23rd, or you could leave it as 23 over 4. But you would need to move the y to the negative 2 to the bottom to become y squared. So that should be your answer. And number 8, you have the same base, so therefore you know you can subtract the exponents. So 5 6 minus 1 half, and 5 6 minus 1 half is 2 6, so that's 8 to the 2 6 power. If I simplify 2 6, that's 8 to the 1/3, which is basically the cube root of 8, and the cube root of 8 is 2. Again, you could put all of that in your calculator using your division symbols in parentheses, but it leaves a lot more room for error if you do that, so it's better to simplify first. For number 9, this is going to become 5 to the 1/4 power times 5 to the 1/2 power, and all of that to the 4th power. So you first want to add the exponents, which are inside the parentheses, so that becomes 5 to the 3/4, all of that raised to the 4th power. So therefore 3/4 times 4 is basically 3, so that's 5 cubed, and 5 cubed is 125. For number 10, you first want to simplify the coefficients because remember that's just regular division. So this becomes a 3 and this becomes a 2. So you're going to simplify that to 3 over 2. And now you know that with the exponents for x, since you're dividing, you can subtract. So that's x to the 4/3 minus 1/3. And then the y has no other exponent, so you just leave it as y. And then the z would be negative 2/5 minus 3/5. Gotta squeeze it in there. Okay? So now you can simplify. The 3/2 still stays 3/2. The exponent for x becomes just 1. The y stays as an exponent of 1, and z becomes 2/5, negative 2/5 minus 3/5 is negative 5/5, and negative 5/5 is negative 1. So this is your expression rewritten. Now, since the z is to the negative first power, you do need to rewrite it so it goes on the bottom with the 2. So the x and the y are going to stay on the top with 3, and the z is going to go on the bottom with the 2. For number 11, power to power again. So you are going to distribute that 6 to both the m and the w. So 6 times 1/3 is 2, so that's m squared. And negative 1/2 times 6 is negative 3. You cannot leave that negative there. It has to go on the bottom, so that becomes m squared over w cubed. Let me get rid of that line there. Over w cubed. Okay. Number 12. You want to first take the 6th root of 128 and over the 6th root of 2. So you basically want to distribute that 6th root to everything. That would look like 128 x to the 20th, y to the 43rd. And since the bottom is having the 6th root taken as well, you're going to also basically take the 6th root of everything. So that's 2x squared y. Now it's much easier to go ahead and simplify the exponents before taking the 6th root of everything. So therefore, again, the 6th root can be raised to the 1/6, so we'll get there in a second. 128 divided by 2 is 64. 20 minus 2 is 18. And then 43 minus 1 is 42. Now you could take the 6th root of everything, but that's the same as raising to the 1/6 power, and it's easier to see how these exponents simplify if you raise it to the 1/6 power. So 64 raised to the 1/6 power is 2. 18 times 1/6 is 3, so that's x cubed. And then 42 times 1/6 is 7, so that's y to the 7th. So this will simplify to 2xy to the 7th power. Let me make sure that that looks like a 7 right there. Let me erase that little line that caught up there. And that will be your answer for number 12. Alright, look in the next video. That was the first page of your review packet. I will be doing the second page in a separate video.